Dear friends, I hope you all are well and keeping safe. Today I'm going to record the last video 27 of the book tracker tutorial series. I really appreciate you sticking along, and I do hope if you have continued this journey along with me for the past several months, going from video 1 to video 27, you have learned the nuances of how to create an app grounds up using the Xcode. Just to refresh your memory, if you are joining me now, please go back to video 1. If you continue along the journey, you will learn how to create a completely functioning app using the Xcode iPhone app, wherein you'll learn how to create using the different form factors, learn to talk about constraints, the different table views that we can use to bring things together. And at the end of the day, you'll have a fully functional app. And the app is all about tracking books. So what you can do is you can add books, the books that you like, books that you are reading, books that you want to keep it in your library, and you can see those books in different views. You can see it in a view where you can have the books you have read, books you're currently reading, or books you want to read, kind of organization of the same. You can also search for any books, and you can get the details around the book. So what we're going to do in this video, this is kind of a wrap up of the entire tutorial. The intent was through this app you can learn all the integrate details about creating an app. In today's tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to create the last part of the function, and I'm going to introduce couple of new concepts to you. One, if you recall, we have done tab view control. We are going to learn about how do you navigate between controller without a tab view, which is navigation view controller. Very critical function when you have screen navigating from one screen to another, where you do not have a tab but you just simply want to go based upon an action, is very important. Second critical thing that we're going to learn is when you move between different screens, if they are not tabular, not arranged by a tab, how do you pass value? We have seen the tab view controller in the app all through, so we're going to add a new function and see that how it all comes together. So go ahead and open your Xcode book tracker tutorial. And let's quickly run this. So while this screen comes up, I want to let you know that the function you want to add is when, if you recall the search screen, you were searching for a book and it was displaying the book and the author name. That's what we did last time. What we want to do is, what if you want to get the other details like what genre it belongs to, and whether you have read this book you're currently reading or you want to read it in the future, all those add things that you've added, or in future if you want to add more values to it, like multiple genre about the book, a synopsis about the book and things like that. How do you do that, right? So what you do is, if you go to search here, and if I say, let's say dead vague, I want to click on this and I want to transition to a new screen. See, this will not be a tab view. Tab usually transition from here, correct? In here, I want to transition when I click on this, or any book that you get, right? So if I type T or S, whatever books you have, based upon that, if you want to click on it, how do you move to that book and get all the details, okay? So let's go ahead and stop this. For that, we need to add a new screen. So what we'll do is go to your main storyboard, which is where I am currently, and go ahead and add a new screen. So, and add a new view controller. So how do you do that? You click on the plus button, and in the objects, look for the view controller right here, and just drag it over here. Okay, it's like any other view controller that you have created before. What I want, let me delete this. I have created this before, but let me delete it so I can create it again, once again for you. So now that you have the view controller here, let's come back to the main storyboard. Yes, right here. So this is the new view controller you have created. Now what I want to do is I want to have a navigation based view controller. So to have a navigation, what you do is select the view controller and go to editor and within editor you have embed in, and then you have two kinds of controller. Tab we have already done, so you're going to try the navigation controller, right? So it says the navigation controller. On its own, it will be helping to navigate. Navigation controller gives a nice bar here where you can add buttons, which we will learn a little later on. But for now, what we need to do is we need to connect it. When you want to reach it is now independent. You want to reach here from the search screen, right? So what you do is from your search screen view controller, press the control and drag it to the navigation controller. So as you drag it, it will highlight and just release it. When you release it, you get something as segue. Segue is the way to move between screen. This is how you want to present the screen. You can present modelly, show detail. There are different ways to show it. I am going to say present modelly, right? So you can see there is a connection here now, just like we had the tab controller connection. So this will come here when you're doing some action. We need to write code for that. But before we write the code, click on the connector that you have now, which you created, the segue, and go to its property. And you have to give a name to it so that when in the program you want to identify, you have to have a name to uniquely identify it. So I'll say, this is my detail task, detail book screen. So I'll say detail book. I always get the first letter small. That's the nomenclature I follow, although it's not required, but it's a good way to write all the variables and the reference names so they're easy for you to understand. And as we always do, we add at the end what this is. So this is segue, so we'll add segue. In the kind, you have present modelly. You have these are the options that we had when we were basically creating the view. And the presentation, you can make it full screen. If you make it full screen, it will cover the entire screen. If you don't make full screen, we'll see that as well. It comes as a model, like a pop-up on the main screen. So you want to make it a complete screen. So I'm making a full screen here. Great. Now that I have done that, what I want to do next is on this, I just want to have few fields to showcase my book details, right? Make it a little large so that I can view it nicely. This is the navigation bar I was talking about. You can give a title to it. You can say book details, right? And then you can actually put icons here. We'll do that a little later. But for now, what we can do is let's put 3 different fields. So you go to the objects again, and then let's put the book name. Oh, sorry, we have to say label. So I want everything to display it as a label. So at this label, make it a little bigger, and you can orient it the way you want to. Right now, I will simply say this label, just so that we know. We'll give it book name as the label. We'll replace that value with the real book name. Okay. All right. So that's our first one. And then we need another label. Let's say label again. Align it to this one. Align here. Make it big enough. And I say author name. Then another label. Okay. And make it a little bigger. And let's say this is genre. Okay, all of this will replace later, but for now we're just doing it like this. Then I get another label. This is for the status. So I'll say label. See how the blue bars helps me to align things properly. And I will give it a name, status. Okay, I select all of them together and then I align them. If you recall, add missing constraints so that when they are displayed, they're displayed nicely and properly. Okay. Okay, we can also add a button. So you say bar button. I think this is the one. Let's see. Oops, no, that's the wrong one. My bad. Okay, so let's say button, bar button item. I'm sorry, that's the one. Place one here, and then we'll say another one, bar button item, and I place it over here. Or maybe just one. This is to go back to the previous screen. So we'll say back, or you can give a nice image. There's a back image. You see arrow. Yeah, maybe I can use this one. How about that? Cool. So when you click on it, it goes back to the previous screen. And these are the 4. Right now I'm connected. If you make it smaller, this is how you've done. You have arranged everything. All right, so now I need to create a file where I'll write the code for this one, right? So, or rather this view controller. So you go ahead and I say file, new file, Coco touch class. There you go. Next, this is a view controller. Make sure the subclass is UI view controller. If something else, just bring it back to view controller, and then we give it a name. We say this one, everything is capital, right? Book details view controller. All right, Swift is the code. Press next and save it. That's your book details view controller. Brilliant. Go back to your main view controller. You have to attach this to this. If you recall, we've done this all thing before. Click on the book controller, go to the class and say book detail view controller. Now this book detail view controller is attached to this one. Great. Now, how do I reach here? Now for that reaching, I need to be on this file, which is the search file. So the first thing you have to learn is when do you need to reach? When you search a book, when you search a book, it's on table, and in the table there's something did select is a function in table which you want to invoke, right? So you can simply say table view. If you said did select, is this the one? Perfect. So this is the function that you want to call. Okay. Oops. Yeah. Function table view did select. So what happens when you select this? You want to call the other view. How do you call it? But before calling, I think the way, okay, let's first learn about the calling. The way to call this is there is a already defined function perform segue with identifier. See this? So do you remember perform segue takes you to that screen? So do you remember there was a name we have given? And if you recall, we have given the name book detail segue, right? You can confirm it back again, go here, go to the property, detail book segue, right? Detail book segue, I just copied that. You come back to your cell, you're saying that whenever somebody is selecting a cell, I want to go to a file. Perform segue will help you do that. With an identifier is the unique name. So if you have many, it can decide which one to go based on the name. And sender, you can send it. Okay. Right now, let's do nothing. What will happen is whenever you're selecting something, it will open the screen. It will do nothing. It will open the screen. Hopefully, right? Let's run and see what happens. Okay. We come here. We go to search, and let's say we say search a book Deadwick. Now this is the did select row function. So when I click on it, this will be called. And when I click, you see, boom, it is showing the author name, status. Why the other things are not shown? This is also not working. It should have shown the other ones, but let's see why. It has to be with the alignment. Maybe you missed aligning the things properly. Maybe. Okay. All right. So we take all this. This looks okay to me. Reset to suggested constraint. Okay. All right. And let's run it again and see if the alignment happens this time. If not, we'll worry about it later on. Let's, okay, last scintilla, okay. Everything's going except genre. Let's see what's wrong with the genre one. Okay, I again reset to the constraint just to see what's going on. There's a better way to manage constraint. Maybe in a different tutorial, I'll make you understand that, which you can do programmatically. You can do it through program. It is much more cleaner and better. But for the first tutorial, I'm going to keep it based upon how we do it through the system. So dead fake genre is still not coming. Okay, we'll worry about that later on. Let's see why it is not coming, maybe a little later. But for now, what we will do is we'll focus on the code part, right? So now if you see, it is showing the screen, but not with the value, nothing is working. Why? Because we've done nothing, right? We have simply asked to perform segue and just done that. So now you have to understand that what you need to do is you need to pass that book value here to show everything, that book name and all. How do you do that? Come back to your search. If you refresh your memory, you know that all your books are stored when you do your, when you type something, it calls a filters book array, and the filters book array look for within all the books, the book that you want, and display all those books here, right? Okay, so when it displays that, it is in the books variable, and then when you when you do the select accordingly, you want that particular book to be transferred accordingly. So first what we need to do is let's try to define a variable which I'll call as book, one book, right? The book that you select, which is of type book. I don't want to assign any values. I'll put a question mark. You know what the question mark means? Optional. That means it may or may not have a value, right? Okay, I define a book variable which is of type entity book. You recall entity? The entity is where all your books detail are stored. Okay, now you come back here. What you want to do is when you are selecting, where is the did select gone? When you're selecting, you want to make sure that your book variable contains that particular book name. You know that all the books are stored in the books variable, right? That's where you're using to display. And you have an index path. Wherever you're selected, it'll tell you that index path dot row. So you're saying that you have multiple books here, but whichever row I'm selecting on, put that book in this book variable. Part one done, but still this putting in this variable still is in the search window only. How do you pass it to this particular file, right? Oh, sorry, not this one. See the book detail file. So for that, we have not written any code here as of now. What I will first do is I will define a variable book here. It's like a container, right? So I will define a variable book of type book, right? So once I have defined this book here, then what I want to do is, what did I do here? No initializers. Okay. So I define this variable book here, which is of type entity book. Great. Now the next thing that I want to do, oh yeah, I need to import code data. Why? Because the definition of book is in the table. So import code data. Okay. Now that I have done this and I put a question mark here, so that means I'll define it later on. What I want to do is I want to assign, this is the variable which is in this class. So the scope of this is here. So what I need to do is when I call this, which is where I'm calling is prepare, perform segue, I have to somehow pass this book to that variable. How do you do that? For that, your system provides a function with the name prepare for the segue, right? So prepare, when you write, there is a function on prepare segue. This is a system defined function. What happens every time you call perform segue, before it goes to this particular view controller, navigation view controller, any other view controller, it comes here and it will do whatever function you want to do. For example, for now, if I simply say print hello, you will see that this hello will be called as soon as I tap on it, and then it will go and do whatever it needs to do in opening the other screen. Got it? Okay. Now let's run it to see what I'm talking about before I do anything else, right? So go to search and I say dead wake. So moment I call, it should print hello, right? So I print dead wake, and if you see here, it has print hello. There are some issues with the constraints, I believe, layout and constraint, which you need to fix it. Remember, the genre was not coming, because of that this error is coming. We'll try to fix it. Maybe I'll give another shot. That is not important though for this tutorial. Let me try to see why this is giving such problem. So I'll go ahead, select all, and I say clear constraints. All right, and then I'll just move things around a little bit, give it some space, and see if I can again try to put the missing constraints here. Okay, and clean this up, and let's give another shot. So you'll see that hello is getting printed before this is called. So we'll try it once again. By the way, if your display is off, make sure that your display is on by clicking on this bar. So this shows you all the output. This is the output bar. Okay. All right. So go back to your screen here. I'll just put it on the side. Go to your search. Let me clean this so that you know that it is a clean slate at this point in time. You say click on dead wake, it should print hello, and then it should open the other screen. Brilliant. I think genre has some issue. Let me see what's going on. For now, let me delete this and let me add missing constraint and run this once again. Maybe we can recreate genre. I think there was some issue with that label. Hopefully so. Okay, search here. Let's say the last scintilla. Click on this. Now it's working. I think there's some issue. We'll correct it later on. I just deleted genre for the time being. Okay, so now hello is good, but what I want to do is, if you recall, from this search, the book that I have now, I want to pass it to the book which is in other views. It's like passing value to the other view controller. How do you do that? To do that, what you need to do in prepare, you have to first try to get the handle of the view controller. How do you get that? If you go back to main storyboard, you'll see that this segue is connected to the navigation controller first, and from the navigation controller it is connected to the view controller. So there's a navigation controller and then there is a view controller, right? Getting a point? Okay. Now for that, the first thing that we'll do is, you may have multiple segue as well, right? So it is always a good practice to first check which segue you are coming from, right? Because remember one thing, this function will be called regardless from where you're calling. You may have multiple. Right now we have only one, but in the future we have multiple as well. So how do you do that? You first say if, see this variable, that will give you all the access to segue. So if segue dot destination. So this segue dot identifier, identifier, it gives you the name. So you call the name, you've given whatever name, which was detailed book segue, right? If it is detailed book segue, then you do this, and like that you can put condition, you can put a switch as well instead of if, so that you only execute the function that you want to for the particular segue. So this is first a qualifier, just to make sure in the right one. Then what we need to do is we need to first get the handle to the navigation controller. So how do you do that? You say, I'll tell you why I'm saying if here, so just bear with me for a minute. Let is how you define variable. You have two ways to define a variable, var or let. You use let if you're not changing the value, so which is the case here as well. That's the reason I have let instead of var. Okay, you say let me give any name. This is a navigation controller, so it's a nav controller, or if you want, you can say book nav, book detail nav controller. Always the first one small, and this is a name I've given, right? So you say in this variable, let book detail nav controller. How do you get the nav controller? You can actually get the nav controller by saying segu, which is this variable, wherever you're going, that is destination, right? If segu.destination, you don't know what it will be. It can be nav control, it can be view control, it can be tab control. That's the reason you need to typecast it. How do you do that? If segu.view controller as, put a question mark. Question mark is because it's optional. It may or may not be. That's the reason I'm putting question mark. As what is the name of that view controller? So it is UI navigation controller. You don't have a name to it, but that's the first one is the UI navigation controller. Why did I put if, right? This is okay. I think you may have understood, but I'll come to the if little bit, but let's try to revisit this once again. I'm saying that from the segu, there's something destination where you're going. We know that segu is first going to navigation controller. Get me the handle of that in this particular variable, which is of type what? UI navigation controller, right? Why I'm using if I'm using, because only if you get it, then you do this. If I don't use if, there is a danger of, if you change your main string at some point in time, you don't want your code to fail. So if what it basically does is, at least the code will not fail, it will not satisfy, it will not do the function, but it will not crash your code. That's the reason it's always a good practice to use if. And you know why I use let? Because I'm not going to change the value of this. I just need the handle. Once I have the handle, from this handle, I can go and reach the view controller. Come here again to understand. Using the segu destination, I got the handle to this UI navigation controller. So it's like I first reach here. Now, once I reach here, from here, I can reach here, right? That's what I'm trying to do. So you can put another if then. You can say if let, and this is book detail view controller, right? Next is a controller. First one's a nav controller. It's a book detail view controller. This I can reach through this variable, right? I've already used destination to reach here, and I have that handle of the navigation controller in this variable. So I say book detail nav controller, and from here there is already a preview function known as top view controller. So it will give you the, it can have navigation control, can have many one. You want the top one, so it's a top view controller. And then you say this top view controller, you know exactly that top view controller is of type what? It's of type book details view controller, right? So you can simply say as, and again you can put a question mark, because that's optional. If it's not there, it will not crash your system. You can say book detail view controller, right? Again you put your braces on. So now what I have done is I have used my segu destination to get a navigation controller. From the navigation controller, I'm getting a top view controller, which I'm typecasting it to a book detail view controller. Now I have a handle to the book detail controller using this. Once I have a handle, which is this variable, if I say dot, I can get everything in that particular class. You know that I have something known as book in that, right? So you can say book equals to, and then what you want to do is the book that you have, you want to pass that. So you're passing the book to this one accordingly. What happened here has no, oh, okay, I used the wrong one. I'm sorry. This is the variable I need to use, right? Not book equals to book. So with that, when I say dot, it should give me book, and to that book I'm assigning this. Got it? To test this out, it's very easy, right? Once you have done this, you go to your book detail. I do not have the connectors at this point in time, but I can always print this book, right? You can say print, let's say book passed on book name is brackets, and I can put this to escape it, and you say book dot book name, right? This is a passed on value. So You know, the view did load is called for the first time. When this function is called, this will be printed. I will force it. Okay. All right. What happened here? Okay. All right. So let's see what happens here. What did I do wrong here? Fix. Okay. All right. Let's quickly run and see if it is printing the passbook name or not, right? Let's see it once again. We are in the search. Let's run this. We'll walk through the code as we are running the program. Okay. Now we go to search. We'll say, let's say dead week. I'll delete everything from the output screen. Now when I click on this, what will happen? It'll first go here, it'll say, oh, where have you clicked? Oh, you clicked in the first row, it'll get the book's name in the book. Immediately it'll call perform segu, but before it goes, it'll call the prepare function automatically. That is the life cycle, that's how it happens. When it comes here, it knows, yes, it has come from detailed book segu, it'll get the navigation handler. From the navigation handler, we get the book details view controller, and there we are assigning the book to the book that we have stored here. Got it? Let's see how it works. See, passed on book name is dead week. Now it is very easy. All you got to do in this is, what do you need to do? You need to get the handlers. Let's do for one, rest you can do it yourself. And then you can do the function. We'll do two things. We'll go back to search. Sorry, we'll go back to main storyboard. We'll split the screen so that we have two. If you recall, we have to make connections. Go to this one, open book detail view controller, and go here. For now, all I want is my book name, right? So I can drag it and make a weak connection, which is an outlet. I'll give it a name, book name label, right? That's how we do it. I'll do for one, and then you can do for others as well. Okay, let's do for all. Okay, author name. You have to create a genre once again. I'm not doing it, but you can do it yourself. Label, and then let's do the status as well. Say status label. Okay, I want to do one more thing, which is the back button, right? So I want to go back. So this one is very easy. You insert a function instead of a outlet in action. Give it a name, back button, and say connect. All right, X this out. You have all the three variables here. So what you do is, instead of printing, what you can simply do is you can say book name label.text is equal to what? Book, which you have passed. You have to force it dot book name. Similarly, you can say book name author name label.text is equal to book, which you have passed, dot author name. And then you have status. You can say status label.text is equal to book dot status. All right, once you have done, let's do this as well. Back button, all you have to do is you have to dismiss the screen. So you can say simply dismiss. You can say, do you want to animation true? And you can say no function to be called, so nil. It'll just dismiss the screen that you're on. Okay. All right, so let's run this and see if it is doing what exactly it's supposed to do. All right, we go to search. We said dead week. So now if when I click on it, let's go back to search. Sorry, here you can see that I assign everything to this book, right? And then perform, when the perform segu is called, it will come here. And when I did load, assignment is already done. It's no longer blank. It will assign all the labels with the right value. And this back button will function when I click, it'll dismiss the screen, right? So let's do that. That way, Eric Larson, you have read already this book. This, bingo, it goes back here. Let's see, the last scintilla, click on this, bingo, it gets this. Obviously, I have not done the best of the UI design. That was not my intent on the screen, but to showcase this. So guys, that brings me to the end of this video and also the tutorial. I really appreciate you sticking along. Like every good thing, this has come to an end, but there are 27 videos, guys. And if you religiously follow that, you can learn indigenously build app using the Xcode. I also want to let you know that I got a lot of feedback from people that, hey, why don't you load your code in GitHub? I've intentionally not done it because, downloading from GitHub, putting your entire project up is a very easy job. And if you take the easy path, sometimes you don't learn. But as you type, looking at the video, line by line, the code, I can assure you guys, you'll learn the right way. And this will stay with you for a long period of time. I really appreciate you sticking along for the last several months as I made all these videos. And again, if you have any question, any point in time, please do not hesitate to leave me a comment. I will be posting some more videos in the past, but not in the future, but not as a tutorial, but more like pointed function. Now that you've gotten the basic, we will go into the advanced mode of Xcode and teach you certain things in small capsules. Until then, thank you, stay safe, and keep learning. Take care now. Bye.